Hi everyone, welcome to Practical Research 2. I hope you are ready today, and I hope also that you are doing fine. I'm Teacher Nilsson. Module 3, Lesson 1, Research Framework. Our objectives for this session are illustrate the research framework, select the best type of conceptual framework fit for the research study you are going to conduct, and explain the research framework. Get a piece of paper and a pen. We will have a pre-test first. Directions: read and analyze the following statements. Write T if the statement is true and F if false. Number 1. A research framework illustrates the structure or blueprint of the research plan. True or false? Number 2. A research framework consists of the key concepts and assumed relationships of research project. Number 3. A conceptual framework is broader compared to theoretical framework in terms of scope. Number 4. A theoretical framework is commonly used for studies that anchor on time-tested theories that relate to the findings of the investigation to the underpinning relevant theory of knowledge. Moving on to number 5. A concept map is a visual representation of information that helps show the relationship between ideas. Number 6. A dependent variable is the presumed cause of the research problem. Number 7. A moderating variable is an independent variable which influences the direction and strength of the connection between independent and dependent variable. Number 8. An independent variable is the presumed effect of the research problem. Number 9. A control variable is an element that exists between the independent and dependent variable. Number 10. The mediating variable is a special type of independent variable that can influence the dependent variable. Alright, let's check your answers. Number 1. A research framework illustrates the structure or blueprint of the research plan. What's your answer? Very good, the answer is true. Number 2. A research framework consists of the key concepts and assumed relationships of research project. Your answer? True. Number 3. A conceptual framework is broader compared to theoretical framework in terms of scope. Your answer? Okay, the answer is false. Number 4. A theoretical framework is commonly used for studies that anchor on time-tested theories that relate to the findings of the investigation to the underpinning relevant theory of knowledge. The answer is true. Number 5. A concept map is a visual representation of information that helps show the relationship between ideas. The answer is true. Number 6. A dependent variable is the presumed cause of the research problem. What's your answer? Alright, the answer is false. Number 7. A moderating variable is an independent variable which influences the direction and strength of the connection between independent and dependent variable. True. Number 8. An independent variable is the presumed effect of the research problem. The answer is false. Number 9. A control variable is an element that exists between the independent and dependent variable. The answer is false. Number 10. The mediating variable is a special type of independent variable that can influence the dependent variable. The answer is false. Okay, who among you got 10 points? 9, 8. Very good. So, you will know further the concepts that have been mentioned in the statements as we discuss further in this lesson. I have here two pictures. Look at the picture carefully. Analyze the picture. What can you say about these pictures? Can you type your answers or your ideas in the comment section? Alright, you may say that you've noticed boxes. You may also say that each box has a label, like this one. We have here independent variable and dependent variable. You may also say that there are arrows pointing to another box. Okay, these boxes that you are seeing on screen, they are examples of research framework. And the question is, what is the purpose of a research framework? Type your ideas in the comment section. A research framework illustrates the structure or blueprint of the research plan and helps the researcher formulate relevant research questions. A research framework consists of key concepts and assumed relationships of the research project. It is normally used as a guide for researchers so that they are more focused on the scope of their study. Again, what's the purpose of a research framework for the researchers? Good. It serves as a guide for researchers so that they are more focused on the scope of their studies. It can be presented using diagrams, charts, or etc., or any visual representations. And it can also be a narrative, a paragraph stating the concepts and relationships of the study. The types of research framework are classified as the theoretical and conceptual framework. A theoretical framework is commonly used for studies that anchor on time-tested theories that relate to the findings of the investigation to the underpinning relevant theory of knowledge. At the same time, a conceptual framework refers to the actual ideas, the beliefs, and tentative theories that specifically support the study. It is primarily a conception or model of what is out there that the researcher plans to study. Let's have a short activity. We will try to guess. Okay, you guess. What framework am I referring in terms of scope? In terms of scope, focus of content, number of theories, time of development. Okay, are you ready? Let's just try. Okay, which of the framework is broader and can be used in different studies? In terms of scope, is it theoretical framework or conceptual framework? Okay, the answer is theoretical framework is broader and it can be used in different studies, while a conceptual framework, it is narrower and focused and directly related to a specific study. Next question. In terms of focus of content, which of the framework, which of these frameworks is a set of related concepts to a specific study? The answer is conceptual framework is a set of related concepts to a specific study, while theoretical framework is more on the focus is on the particular theory used already in the field. Now we move on to the number of theories. It may present one theory at a time. Which framework? Okay, it's the theoretical framework. It presents one theory at a time, while conceptual framework may synthesize one or more theories. Moving on to the time of development. Which of these frameworks develop while planning and writing a specific research? Alright, the answer is conceptual framework. And in terms of time of development, the theoretical framework is already existing before the conduct of the study. Let's have the similarities of the theoretical and conceptual framework. Number one, they provide an overall view of the research study. Number two, anchor a theory that supports the study. Number three, guide in developing relevant research questions and objectives. Number four, help justify assumptions and hypotheses. Number five, aid in choosing appropriate methodology. Number six, help in gathering and interpreting data. And number seven, guide in identifying possible threats to validity. Number seven, guide in identifying possible threats to validity. Okay, let's try these samples here. Okay, this example, research title, Effect of Mentoring Program on Academic Performance Among Senior High School Students. This is a conceptual paradigm. We have here the independent variable, the first box. You can see there, independent variable and the dependent variable. The independent variable based on this picture, based on this conceptual paradigm, is the effect of mentoring program, and the dependent variable is the academic performance. So what can you say about this research paradigm or this framework? Your answers or your ideas in the comment section. That is the message or the explanation of this research paradigm, a research framework. Second picture, we will have the title is Awareness on the Safety Precaution Against COVID-19 among the senior citizens who are living in the home care facilities, basis for a proposed intervention program. So you see here, you can see the visuals, the input, process, and output. Okay, let's give a short let's give a time to understand this picture here. Okay, so in a graphic form, can you just type any idea that you have in your mind? Type in the comment. In this conceptual framework, the input is the baseline information about the respondents. Necessary steps and procedures are to be implemented to obtain the vital data as a result and findings of the research. Moreover, these findings will be the basis for a proposed intervention program as the output of the study. Here are the guidelines and strategies of choosing and developing a research framework according to Barrow 2017. For theoretical framework, you have to understand the variables included in your study as well as their relationship with one another. Review the existing literature related to your research topic. And using the information that you have gathered from the literature, look for possible theories that may potentially account for the expected results of your research topic. From these theories, select the one that is most relevant to your study and can provide a blueprint for your research. For conceptual framework, identify the key concepts in your study by referring to your research questions or objectives. Search for existing theories that incorporate the same concept and look into their relationships with one another. Using the existing theories as a guide, plot your conceptual framework using a concept map. In case that there are concepts not covered by the selected theories, incorporate them into your framework. However, make sure that you are incorporating this concept into your framework because it is necessary for your paper. After completing the initial draft of your conceptual framework, write a narrative explanation of each concept and how each of them relates to one another. Again, there should be a basis for the relationship between the concepts being incorporated. Refer once again to your research questions. Check if the conceptual framework is aligned with them. Note that the process of creating a conceptual framework is developmental. This means that it may still be refined or changed as you read more literature and look into more theories. In some cases, the research hypothesis is presented at the end of the conceptual framework. Now let's talk about the elements of these research frameworks, like for example, the independent variable, dependent variable, and others. Okay, it's a concept map. What is a concept map? A concept map is a visual representation of information that helps show the relationship between ideas. Concept maps also begin with the main topic and then branch out into subtopics, reflecting the connection of all the elements in the study. It can also provide and organize new ideas. A concept map is composed of different figures such as lines, circles, boxes, and other marks or symbols which represent the elements of your research. It can take the form of charts, graphic organizers, tables, flowcharts, Venn diagrams, timelines, or T-charts. A concept map arranges related ideas in a hierarchy. You start broad, and the subtopics will get more and more specific. It also helps you in formulating a specific topic from the general or the main idea with significant connections of information. In other words, understanding the big picture makes the details more significant and easier to comprehend. However, in the concept map, you are not yet actually researching your study. It is still developing or creating your plan or blueprint so that you will be guided in the flow and the direction of your research study. And that includes your research questions, variables, and methodology. It means that you are just gathering and soliciting ideas on what you could learn about your research or your chosen topic. Before creating your conceptual framework, you have to understand first the different variables of your study. Although these were already discussed in the previous modules, we have to discuss it again for clarification or just a review on the important concepts because these are included in making a research framework. Let's begin with the independent variable, which is the presumed cause of the research problem. It is the reason for any change or difference in a dependent variable. It can be purposely manipulated by the researcher depending on the focus of the study. It can be or it may be the cause, influence, or it may affect the result or outcome of the study. It is also called the experimental treatment, antecedent, or predictor variable. Moreover, it refers to the variable that is stable and unaffected by the other variables you are trying to measure. That is the independent variable. Let's have the dependent variable, which is the presumed effect of the research problem. It is usually the problem itself or the element that is being questioned. This variable is altered as a result of experimental manipulation of the independent variable or variables. It is also called as the criterion effect, response, or outcome variable, which captures the interest of the researcher and requires analysis, interpretation, and implication of the findings of the study. The variable that depends on other factors that are measured and are affected or influenced by the independent variable. The moderating variable is an independent variable which influences the direction and strength of the connection between independent and dependent variables. The independent variable interacts with the moderator variable, which makes the relationship of the independent and dependent variable stronger or weaker. It alters the effect that an independent variable has on a dependent variable based on its value. The moderator therefore influences the effective component of the cause-effect relationship between the two variables. This is called the interaction effect. Mediating variable or intervening variable is an element that exists between the independent to the dependent variable. A mediator or mediating variable is an integral part of the cause and effect relationship and helps us to understand the effects of the independent variable on the dependent variable. It is a variable that describes the effect and influence of the relationship between the variables and what is controlling that relationship. This is also called as correlated or mediator variable. The control variable is a special type of independent variable that can influence the dependent variable. It takes an active role in quantitative studies. Statistical procedures are used to control this variable. It is useful to integrate the control variables into your research study, but it is not, take note, it is not the main focus. It has somehow an effect on the dependent variable and an extension of the independent variable. However, if you omit the control variable from your study, the findings would be less accurate. It is mostly relevant if your study is about to prove a cause and effect relationship by undertaking statistical analysis. The input process output model. The input process output model is a conceptual paradigm which indicates the inputs, required process, and the output. This approach is seated on the premise of acquiring essential information by converting inputs into outputs through the required processing steps in obtaining result. The IPO model is also referred to as a functional model that is usually used in action research, where an intervention or solution is necessary to solve the identified problem. What is an input? The input in this research paradigm refers to the independent variable of the study. The process refers to the intervention or solution, which consists of the instruments and analysis used to acquire the result. The output, the findings or outcome of the interventions being made to solve the identified problem. Here are the common examples of conceptual framework. As you read on different research studies, the common conceptual frameworks used of most studies are the independent and dependent variable model and the input, process, and output model. Let's have this one. Letter A, independent variable, dependent variable model. In this figure, the schematic diagram of the independent and dependent variables. This conceptual framework shows the independent and dependent variables of the study. It is presumed that the more number of hours a student prepares for the exam, the higher would be the expected academic performance. Look at this picture. The independent variable, hours, dependent variable, the academic performance. So if you are going to have, in this research paradigm, if you have an increased number of hours of study or a decreased number of hours of study, it directly affects the academic performance. So this is an independent variable, dependent variable model. Let's proceed to another example. We have here the input process, output process model. The schematic diagram of the input process and output approach of the study. This conceptual framework shows the input, process, and output. It's here. Okay, process. Okay, and output. This conceptual framework shows the input, process, and output approach of the study. The input is the independent variable, which includes the socio-demographic profile, age, sex, marital status, We have here food safety profile, knowledge, attitude, and practices of the respondents. And the process includes the tools and analysis in data gathering or in gathering the data, while the output is the outcome based on the results of the study. Alright, so we will have another example which we actually used in at the beginning of this video lesson, but still useful to explain further on the research framework. The title is Effect of Mentoring Program on Academic Performance Among Senior High School Students. So you can see here the independent and dependent variable model. Okay, so the independent effect of mentoring and the dependent variable is the academic performance. So in this picture, you will notice that the effect of mentoring program or the mentoring program has a direct effect to academic performance. So this is the research paradigm of this research. Another example, the title is Awareness on Safety Precaution Against COVID-19 among senior citizens who are living in the home care facilities, basis for a proposed intervention program. You have here the input, and then the process, and then the output. So we will have now the activity that you are going to answer. It's found in your module, lesson 1, page 7, what's more? So I'll give you a lot of time to answer these. Activity 1, spot the variables. So the variables are, or the elements, are just going to fill in the boxes with the right variables, and your basis will be here, down here. This one, elements and factors. Where are you going to put the healthcare facilities? Work experience of the medical team, the medical intervention, social status of the patient, number of patients recovering from pneumonia, immune system of the patient, patient's employment. So it's up to you. But always remember, always remember to identify first which among these elements or factors are independent variables and which are dependent variables, and which are the moderating variables or moderating variables. So the title is Medical Intervention and the Number of Patients Recovering from Pneumonia. So you have two activities to answer in lesson 1, page 8 and 7. Now we are on page 8. Another title, Effects of the Social Responsibility of a Corporation to its Organizational Performance. So the same with activity 1, you are going to spot the variables from here and then identify which of these are mediating variables or a mediating variable, the independent variables and dependent variables. Again, you may pause this video so that you have enough time to answer. Moving on to the next activity, which is found in Module 3. Module 3, Lesson 1, page 9. Name that title activity. Direction. Based on the knowledge and understanding that you have gained from the previous examples and activities, you have now captured the idea on how to make a conceptual framework from the research title. With this, you are now given the framework. Okay, so it's quite challenging because you are given the framework and you need to formulate the research title according to the elements and factors that are present in the variables. Give 3 possible research titles that would reflect on the given variables. Okay, so you may comment your titles in the comment section. So I'll give you enough time to answer this. We are now on the next activity, what I can do, found in Module 3, Lesson 1, page 10. Task 1, build a framework. Create an initial research framework for your research study. Consider the relationship between the concepts and variables in your research. Then prepare a concept map representing this relationship visually. Use the space below for your answer, or you may use a separate paper if the space provided is not enough. Okay, there are two tasks. The output of this activity will be submitted to the Google Classroom, and you may also submit a picture or send a picture via Messenger, or you may just pass your notebook to me during the deadline of the notebooks. As a summary of what you have learned today, you have learned about research framework, types of research framework, theoretical and conceptual, independent, dependent, moderating, mediating, and control variables, independent variable and dependent variable model, and input process output models. And you're able to illustrate the research frameworks with our activities. You're able to select the best type of research framework fit for your research study, and you can now explain the research framework of your study. Before we end this session, I'd like you to get a piece of paper and a ball pen. We will have our post-test. Let's check your understanding of this session's lesson. Direction: read and analyze the following statements. Write T if the statement is true and F if it is false. So your answers will be submitted to me during the deadline, or you are going to submit your notebook. You may also submit it in the Google Classroom and in the Messenger. Number 1, a research framework illustrates the structure or blueprint of the research plan. Number 2, the mediating variable is a special type of independent variable that can influence the dependent variable. Number 3, a theoretical framework is broader compared to conceptual framework in terms of scope. Number 4, a conceptual framework is commonly used for studies that anchor on time-tested theories that relate to the findings of the investigation to the underpinning relevant theory of knowledge. Number 5, a concept map is a visual representation of information that helps show the relationship between ideas. Number 6, an independent variable is the presumed cause of the research problem. Number 7, a moderating variable is a dependent variable which influences the direction and strength of the connection between independent and dependent variable. Number 8, a dependent variable is the presumed effect of the research problem. Number 9, a control variable is an element that exists between the independent and dependent variable. Number 10, a research framework consists of the key concepts and assumed relationships of the research project. And we're done with 10-item post-test. Okay, just write your answers Okay, finalize your answers in your notebook and submit that during the deadline. And for those who are in the Google Classroom, you may also submit that one. And for those who have opted to pass their tasks via Messenger, you may pass that one, of course, during the deadline. Okay, as a final task or as an assignment, I'd like you to answer this My Learning Log based on the video lesson that you have watched today. So just pass this learning log along with your notebook. Okay, so I hope that you have learned a lot for this session. I'm Teacher Nielsen, your teacher in Practical Research 2. See you next time. Bye bye. God bless.